You want to get started on the show, fams? Talk about a little bit about something important over here.
Yes.
Infrastructure.
Right. So this is why I'm so fucking done with these people. So these progressives congratulate Bernie and Pelosi for the worthless infrastructure bill advancement. It's just the advancement. It's not the end. So this is the $3.5 trillion safety net package, and it's going to now. This guarantees a vote that the Senate Senate approved $550 billion infrastructure bill by September 27th. That's the deadline. And of course, they're also going to be voting on the wonderful John Lewis voting rights bill and the budget reconciliation bill. Still, that has to go through the committee in both the Senate and the House. So that's what's gone on. And for me, this is like the progressives are painting this like it's the biggest win. Bernie Sanders did this on his own. How amazing. Look at the progressives and how they're using their leverage. What the fuck? What did we get out of this? Nothing. Hold on.
Well, it's so funny, and I know you're going to go into it as well, too, Johnny. We're having this conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't use certain language because now I look online, and all the Republicans are using the term slush fund. And I'm like, oh, you fucking assholes. I was using this a couple weeks ago, and now you jerk-offs appealing in there and using that word because at the end of the day, we've had so many infrastructure bills, all this shit, and the money never gets to where it has to go. I'll let you go and we'll piggyback on that after.
No, yeah, I mean, it doesn't, right? And let me see. I just wanted to read a couple of this. The House voted 220
the NBC
to
News
212 on a key procedural motion to instruct committees to write the $3.5 trillion bill, okay? So they actually had a decent amount of support. And Nancy Pelosi committed to the September 27th deadline to placate to the centrist Democrats like what's-her-face that nobody likes.
You're talking about the one from Arizona? Is that her name? Sanu or whatever?
Yeah, Kristen Sinema.
Sinema, that's it.
Yeah, that's her name.
Yeah.
And they said, never bet against Nancy Pelosi. Representative John Larson from Connecticut said, knowing the enormous amount of work that goes into something like this and then the very narrow margins that we have, it makes her job even more extraordinary. She also takes all the heat for being the leader. So there you go. Nancy Pelosi is, is getting so many accolades. And Biden has said that it's going to transform America, that it's a historic investment and it's going to cut taxes for working families and position the American economy for long-term economic growth. Do you see how broad these statements are?
My God.
There's literally no specifics into how this is actually going to help people because there's no extension of the unemployment benefits that are expiring on September 4th. There is no further talk about any rent cancellation or any sort of stimulus check that people are getting. There's none of that. None of that right now. So
yeah, there's talks about how to slow down crypto though, and how to try to change the whole language over there. I mean, there's a bunch of shit in here that doesn't even fucking get to where it's got to go. And I hate the fact that they always make these broad statements and shit. Because you know why? Because leftists and progressives, they listen to language rather than look at policy.
Yep.
And that is a huge, huge problem, fam.
That is why I have a problem because they are so hyper-focused on how this word is going to make somebody feel that they don't look at the content of what's actually behind there. And that's what the CIA and the establishment have always weaponized against the left. And now progressives are literally, like Steve says, they were the liberals in training wheels, and now they're full on riding the bike now. That's it. There's no difference, really, in my opinion, between them and the liberals at this point.
What would you like?
Speaking of cucks, Bernie Sanders.
Would you like me to read this?
Please read it.
Congratulations to Speaker Pelosi and the House Democrats for passing the $3.5 trillion budget resolution. Now, let us move forward aggressively to transform this country by passing both reconciliation bill and the infrastructure bill. Working families are counting on us, fam. Not cucking on us, counting on us.
I mean, Bernie Sanders is congratulating Nancy Pelosi. This is where we're at right now for this shit. For literally nothing. Like nothing. What working families are counting, they've been counting on you, Bernie. They've been counting on you for freaking forever, since 2016. I mean, what have you been done? I just want to look at these comments. Go
CJ.
fuck yourself, you sellout. You know this is another money laundering bill for large corporations and the wealthy. You know it's not going to fix any of the problems across thousands of communities being poisoned by their water, like Flint water crisis. You pathetic fucking coward. I mean, hey, I'm with the people here. The sentiment is that. Like, who gives a shit what these liberals think? They haven't done anything for us. Right? They haven't done absolutely anything for us. And I mean, all the comments, really. Like, all the comments are just so, like, pretty much like, what the hell is this?
I'm like, yeah. I mean, people are starting to call it out, dude. The more I look at things right now, it's funny, fam. Today, while we were getting ready, Anthony Blinken was doing a little speech today, and it was press conference. There's so many more thumbs down than there are thumbs up. These people are getting ratioed. People are catching on. You know, that question we asked Cynthia McKinney, do you still have faith in the people? She's like, oh, that's a good question, because you see the divide nowadays
the
and stuff.
Propaganda is strong.
Yes, but these moments when they go after people, and people are now no longer afraid to say, hey, you know something, Bernie? Go scratch. I'm going to call out your bullshit. It gives me hope.
Yeah, it does give me hope, I think. And that's precisely why you're seeing the attacks on any sort of dissent increase, and the attack and the surveillance state increase. There's not just their surveillance, but the declination of the freedoms that we have, free speech, the ability to say something controversial. Those are the things that they're focused on, and that's why they're trying to divide us further, because they see that we're an angry population, an increasingly angry population, and so they're like, oh, we got to do something about that, because we can't let these people like realize that we're the problem. So let's turn Antifa and the Proud Boys and have them fight each other, because that's really beneficial to them. They're sitting there eating pretty and like having a great time watching everybody fight each other. And that's why it's so ridiculous to me what's happening in Portland, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's too, like, that's the things I want to go out there and do. Like, like, there are some people who were like, they try to build these phony bridge, not mentioning any names, but, I want to build real bridges. You know what I'm saying? I want to go out to some of these protests with all these, patriots and tell them, why do you keep calling them commies? Why do you keep on going against socialism? This is what they want. Let's talk about this thing. And telling the people on the left, why are you calling these people fascists? I want to build the real bridges and to talk about the real things
that's
that
very
we
optimistic.
need to bring us together. I know it's very optimistic.
I think some of these people, though, as much as I agree with the ideology on the left of anti-fascism, they attacked my friend just because he was at the event here, who's a Bernie supporter. He was like, oh, I want to know what they're talking about, like anti-mandates, and they were like going after him. Yeah. Just the same way as these Proud Boys, they attack like anybody that has a leftist mentality as a commie, and like they say all this crap about communism that's not real. They're like, it's almost like they're rabid on emotion. There's no logic on both ends. I'm not as optimistic as you. I think those people are lost. I think we can get some of the people that aren't as involved in those organizations to come on our side, that are more working class.
Well, I'm talking about people who go out for certain rallies, like this particular rally and stuff, that might not necessarily be a Proud Boy or a BLM or Antifa.
There's a difference between a Proud Boy and somebody that's like against anti-mask or anti-mandates.
Today, I think they had the sentence for the Proud Boy. What's his name? Tario and stuff. And he was even saying, I think, the fact is like, they want Antifa and BLM to go out and the Proud Boys to go at each other.
Wasn't he like working with the FBI though?
I don't know what that was. That's what people were saying.
Yeah,
they were saying he was a Fed, but they just sentenced him to 5 months today for burning a Black Lives Matter flag.
Doesn't mean he wasn't a Fed though.
So I didn't follow the roots to that, because I really don't follow the Proud Boys that often. Like I said, when I listened to Garland Nixon and we talked to him, Garland's like, don't even focus on those groups. They're so small. They're renewed. They're just put out there to put the people against each other. There's a lot more of the people you can convince. And that's what I was like talking like the rally that Johnny went to this weekend while we had that panel. I would have loved to have been with Johnny on that one. You know what I'm saying? Those are rallies I don't want to miss, because I want to talk to those people. And I'm going to, this whole fear of socialism, like Fred Hampton said, if you're afraid of socialism, you're afraid of yourself. Why shouldn't we take all that money we spend on fucking war and use it for the people back at home? You're going to call that socialism? Like, that's bad? I don't get it. And I want to try to get an understanding of what they're afraid of.
Yeah, so, they're entirely miseducated. And So yeah, this is People for Bernie, by the way,
Favorite
who
site,
is
isn't it?
run by Winnie Wong, which is one of the establishment idiots that sunk Bernie's campaign. And big win for U.S. progressives, historic loss for the U.S. Chamber and No Labels org. Like this is not a win. They said any Democrat aligning with the U.S. Chamber at any level opposes expanding Medicare to hearing, vision, and dental. This is where they're at now. This is where they're at. They're at expanding Medicare to hearing, vision, and dental. This is the criticism that progressives gave when Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, and even Hillary Clinton offered to lower the Medicare age and expand Medicare. This is where they're at right now. 5 years later, they've gone backwards instead of forward. Do you not see how like ridiculous that is? We're over here fucking like talking about the Antifa and Proud Boys and all this bullshit. The progressives have gone back. They've shifted to the right, actually. If you're looking at it from a left-right paradigm, they've also become more authoritarian, which is scary. And again, like they're accepting losses, like you said, incremental losses.
They're fighting for incremental losses.
Establishment politicians now just because they're not Republicans.
Yeah.
What do you think happens after Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi reach a deal? Do you think like they just, they don't talk to each other? Their kids go to the same schools. They run in the same circles. Cynthia McKinney talked about this.
Yep.
These people high five right when
wrestling.
the cameras go off. They're friends.
Arm in arm, hand in hand.
This is who these people are, and yet you're playing into this fucking theater. And it's so obvious to me. I just don't understand.
It's what you said about the incremental losses. It's like, Bernie, what will we get for voting for Gavin Newsom? Nothing. But it won't be as bad if a Republican gets in.
Right.
And that's something you got to consider. Could you imagine going up to a homeless person on the fucking streets of California where we have almost 200,000? Hey, man, I know it's bad, but you got to hang in there. We got to let the same people who fucking made sure that this number, the homeless number, rose crazily, even though they're Democrats, stay in there because it would be worse if it was a Republican. I mean, how do you fucking sell that? At what point do you say, hey, you know what? Like what Cynthia said, no more. You don't get our vote. You get nothing.
No. If you haven't seen
The
Cynthia
power
McKinney,
of no.
is it only on Rokfin still?
It's on Rokfin. I'm going to cut it up and put it on. I have a new thumbnail. I'm going to put it up on YouTube, and I'm going to refer to her as Dr. McKinney
Yes.
from now on, because she's a doctor and she deserves that.
She is a doctor.
Yes.
So this is Pramila Jayapal, the fighter for Medicare for All, right? And I'm putting her tweet here because it's important to know. She said, first, the House must deliver once-in-a-generation, popular, and necessary investments in childcare, paid leave, climate action. Do you see how broad these statements are? Once again, healthcare, housing, education, and more to families. Then we will pass the infrastructure bill to invest in our roads, bridges, and waterways. So this is what's happening, guys. They have decided that they're going to not vote on the infrastructure bill, the final infrastructure bill, until they pass a reconciliation bill. That's what these progressives are doing. Mm-hmm. But look at what they're saying. They're talking about Medicare expansion. They're not talking about Medicare for all. This is the woman whose bill was in the House. That's the Medicare for all bill that progressives were pushing. Bernie's was in the Senate. These are the people that campaigned on Medicare for all and that took money from working class people who literally gave them money because they had they gave them all they had, and are now not fighting for that. They're fighting for incrementalism. And the Progressive Caucus, which is made up of over 100 progressives who literally don't use any sort of leverage to get anything done, is right on board with that. They said, we're pleased, in the next tweet, to see the House Democratic Caucus come to a consensus on the need to pass the budget resolution without further delay. And we remain united with leadership and the President of the United States in our mission to enact the entire Build Back Better agenda.
The BBB. B cubed.
So there it is, their little statement. The Congressional Progressive Caucus on enactment of budget resolution. And this is Pramila Jayapal, chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, issued the following statement, which is what we read. And then the second paragraph where she says this, she says, our position remains unchanged. We will work to first pass the Build Back Better reconciliation bill so we can deliver these once-in-a-generation, popular, and urgently needed investments to poor and working families. What are you delivering? Did you cancel rent? Did you give Medicare for all? Are you giving a stimulus package? Are you giving some sort of, I don't know, some sort of actual help that will put money back in people's pockets? No, none of that is happening. And then pass the infrastructure bill to invest in our roads, bridges, blah, blah, blah. As our members made clear for 3 months, the two are integrally tied together, and we will only vote for the infrastructure bill after passing the reconciliation bill, blah, blah, blah. And every elected Democrat should do the same. Build Back Better agenda. Congress must now move urgently to send both pieces of this package to the president's desk for his signature so we can transform people's lives. What are you transforming?
Oh my God.
They don't specify what exactly are you transforming. They can't even commit to a $15 federal minimum wage, which is no longer. It's been so long that fight has gone on that it's no longer enough. $15, you can't survive on that.
It's not even theater anymore. It's bad theater, guys.
Yeah.
It's awful theater. Like the language, we're going to transform people's lives. Remember when we interviewed with Reverend Annie Chambers?
Mm-hmm.
She says, now people, we know better. This ain't going to change nothing over here. This is going to give them a little holiday, but this ain't going to do nothing to the poor people out there.
Yeah.
And yet they were talking, oh, this is going to transform people's lives. This is going to cut into child's poverty, they said. They had the nerve to fucking say that shit. Guess what? The homeless number keeps on getting bigger and bigger every year. Leave that one, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so I think we have AOC here.
Your fave, fam.
And she, again, I just want to read the top of her tweet. Our position remains unchanged. We'll only vote for the... It's like she copy-pasted this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It's like lowering drug prices, fighting climate change, supporting childcare, and providing vision and dental care to seniors. Okay, so lowering drug prices right now in the middle of how much money Pfizer is making. We're going to talk about that. Fighting climate change. How? The Green New Deal is literally a corporate giveaway to all these powerful oligarchs. Literally does very little. It doesn't ban fracking. It doesn't do anything to actually push a new way forward at all. And they're not even talking about the Green New Deal here, which is like not even great. She's just talking about fighting climate change. Yeah. Do you see what they do here? And like this, dental care and vision to seniors. To seniors. Okay, so what about literally everybody else? What about no? It's like this is seniors already have Medicare. Okay, so we're expanding vision and dental. I'm not gonna complain. I mean, that's if they do that, that's a good thing if that happens for seniors. But like, we're in the middle of a supposed pandemic, right? And we can't get health care. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've said this ad nauseum. Like, I don't understand how people can praise this. I have a really like, I don't.
Because they know it's not policy. They just hear the words and then they root them on. That's it. You know, they listen to the words, the rhetoric. They don't look at the actions, the actual policy. You know, and that whole thing that you're talking about right now, we're talking about over here, something that Cynthia McKinney called in an interview, astroturfing. Like they get the same email, they pass on the same message. Remember, we always talked about, I'd like to get on that email chain that tells everybody what to do and how they do it. They listen, they got their ducks in the order. They know how to work very well together, how to dupe the people. They're organized when it comes to this shit. Their messaging is always on cue, you know?
Yeah. And another issue that Pasta, and I know you have this issue too, is the HR1. There's so many issues with HR1, including the making it nearly impossible for a third party to compete in this process, right? In the whole election process, we already don't have a fair shake at the system. If you're a third party, it makes it 10,000 times worse. It gives the establishment candidates more money to fight these independents or third party candidates, and they're framing HR1 as like a revolutionary election type of bill that's going to guarantee more voting rights for people. Well, it's not. Voter registration, I think that's great, but here we go. Vote by mail and early voting in every state. It also ends partisan gerrymandering and much more. Okay, we could end gerrymandering, but vote by mail without any sort of chain of custody, that is just going to make things worse. And that's exactly what's in HR1. Yeah. We've talked about it before. You can search in our videos, HR1. I think Robbie Yeager also did a breakdown on the money aspect of HR1, which I think was really well done.
Yeah, it's an awful bill.
It's awful.
So, and it also talks about, when it comes to it. Like the everybody on the voter registration will get a mail-in ballot. They're going to shotgun those out again. That's very, very dangerous. And it also takes away the state's rights. That's the argument a lot of people say. It's like H.R. 1 really is unconstitutional, that the state has the right to decide the hours and when they can vote early and whatnot. So there's a lot of talk.
It centralizes power on the federal level when it comes to voting.
Exactly.
And the problem I have with that is that at the federal level, it's a mess. I mean, it's not like the states honestly like do that much better of a job, but that's the only fighting chance you have at actual reform right now, because the federal government isn't doing it. So it's like it's just such bullshit. They're really making it like this whole win of accessibility, but without any sort of security, which we've talked about in the show so many times, is a loss, because that of course makes everything ripe for fraud. And I just wanted to post this tweet here from AOC from 2019 on what she talked about Afghanistan. She said here, I think our decision to enter unlimited engagement in Afghanistan, particularly through the AUMF and Congress, abdication of power, decision-making with passage of the AUMF was a mistake. Other options targeting the network itself, limited engagement, non-intervention. And she said, this liberal said, what does non-intervention mean? Do you mean us doing nothing? Do you think that's the correct course of action after a massive terrorist attack on our soil? God. And AOC said, it means not invading an entire nation without end. Doesn't mean do nothing. It means perhaps we should have leaned on more on the larger role of other agencies, intelligence, State Department, diplomatic teams, etc., before Congress decided to invade a nation without a concrete end plan. Interesting, she's advocating for more agency intelligence involvement, which these things are the actual problem that literally led to the creation of these radical, jihadists. Like, that's literally what led to the creation. She does not understand foreign policy whatsoever. I'm not saying that the way we, that it's that simple, but really it is that simple. Like, we shouldn't have fucking involved ourselves, period.
Yeah. And with the whole nation building and everything like that. But it's also, to another tactic, fam, that we have to kind of point out. She is going to that 3-letter agency tactic and stuff like that, which is just making a bad solution even worse. You know what I'm saying? So the fact is that she's trying to present, this is the other solution. We don't send our troops in. We let the special forces deal with it. So therefore it manufactures consent, because it seems more logical to let special forces and the CIA deal with it rather than our actual everyday troops that are just enlisted men in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. It really is a dirty, dirty tactic.
Yeah, and I think
it is like privatizing a war too as well. You
know?
know?
And we already went over what Jayapal did. I guess that was out of order, so apologies to Johnny for that. And so what's in the bill? It's 2,700 something pages. None of these people read everything. I'm telling you, it's impossible, right?
Every bill they do this shit. The CARES Act.
Yeah, that's like, why they do it, right?
It's like, and a lot of congressmen and women and senators, like, when they get a hold of these bills, some of them will come forward like, we just got this yesterday and we're voting on it today. We haven't even got time to go peel through this son of a bitch, and you're making us vote on this, and they do that on purpose. Yeah. They literally come wheeling them in on a dolly and poof, put the thing on the desk.
Yeah, so we're going to start reading and we'll be done in I don't know,
Thursday?
3 days? Yeah. Okay, I'm just kidding. We're not. But this is insane. But this is mostly infrastructure, right? This is why it's called the infrastructure bill. Can you, you've gone out. We have really bad infrastructure. Look at our infrastructure compared to China.
Why are you stealing my mind? I was waiting for my section to talk about it.
Ahead.
Well, once again, we've had many of these bills. I put an article that came in there that went over the bills that Trump tried to sign. He didn't get it signed. Want to go to
the article? We can.
We could do that.
Guys, read the bill. Take a week.
Take a vacation and read. It's right there.
But I just real quick before we get to that, I wanted to talk about this, right? Buried in the 2,700 page infrastructure bill is this thing where we're going to start charging people. They're going to start charging people for the mileage.
Yeah.
Like putting a cap on the mileage you drive.
Toll roads and all this other bullshit they're putting in there.
To test the design, acceptance, implementation, and financial sustainability of a national motor vehicle per mile user fee. What? Are you fucking kidding me? B, to address the need for additional revenue for surface transportation infrastructure and a national motor vehicle per mile user fee. And C, to provide recommendations relating to the adoption and implementation of a national motor vehicle per mile user fee. So they're testing this, which means it's eventually going to be. Guys, that's ridiculous. So now you want to charge me to...
Only the elite can drive on the certain toll roads, fam.
I mean...
You with the rest of the plebs get on the 405 with the potholes and the cracks and the wiggliness when you drive because it's awful. That's something that Johnny says all the time. He goes, what the fuck is wrong with our roads? Everywhere we go, it's
so
terrible.
Much in taxes already, in the state of California in particular, for our roads. And they're discussing, you know where the roads are nice here in California? In the nice parts of Pasadena, in Beverly Hills, in West Hollywood, Santa Monica. The roads are beautiful in those areas.
Yeah.
The roads are not beautiful in the working class areas. In fact, that you could literally crash because there's a giant pothole that you can't avoid. We pay so much in taxes. Our money doesn't go there. This is why, I used to be all about taxation, and be well, I don't mind paying taxes if it's going to benefit the society.
It never does.
It's not that I'm against paying taxes if it would benefit society. I don't want taxation without representation, because at this point taxation is theft, and you can call it a libertarian point of view, but it's not, because we're not seeing the benefit of where all this is going. And on top of that, now they want you to pay more so that money doesn't go where it's supposed to. Because again, just speaking from California, they were allotted money to deal with a housing and homeless crisis. That money never got to those areas.
It never does.
It never
does.
does.
And we were watching something yesterday, and it was a gentleman who lived in China for many years was talking about, well, just look at China's infrastructure. You know, the money actually gets out to the people and the roads and whatnot. You look at China, and it's just futuristic city after futuristic city and everything is beautiful and it's whatnot, and they got high-speed rail. He even mentioned that Azerbaijan has high-speed rail, but in Detroit, we keep getting trains that go off the tracks, whatnot. How often do we hear, once again, in this part of the town or this part of the country, a train went off the track? We're using old shit because every time they allot money for it, it never gets there.
Right.
A lot of these companies take the money and then declare bankruptcy and keep the money they took.
It's exactly
right.
What happens.
It gets wasted all on the boards. Go ahead, Johnny.
It says one of the tools for that pilot program is to use third-party onboard diagnostic devices to track.
So that's
to track the meals, the vehicle miles traveled.
Can you imagine that talking to you, Johnny? Mr. Majorca, you've driven the allotted miles per day.
No.
Please pull over and take a bus home.
Are you talking about the breathalyzer?
No.
Is that what it?
Perhaps. No. This
too.
is part of the pilot program for the any of the following vehicle miles traveled collection tools. So they want to put a diagnostic device, or you use your smartphone, or telemetric data, or
the libertarian's gonna have a field day
data
with this.
obtained by current car insurance companies.
Yeah, they have the little plug-in things, right? Right now, though, they tell you the smart thing, plug it in, and you pull it out, and they let you...
But this is the government completely getting all up in your fucking business here.
Shit.
Onboard diagnostic devicies. So I just
Can't
wanted to
be
point
high.
that out. That should creep me out.
Can't be high.
Can't be high, you gotta blow. Ah!
You know, the worst part is that people, a lot of people in America, I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people in America take medication, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they get behind the wheel, and that's not there's no way to measure that. I wonder if they're gonna start did you take your Oxycontin today? Did you take your antidepressive medication? Then you can't drive. And this is so draconian.
Yes, because it's not going to let you drive. It's going to report, say, you cannot drive today. You've took too much Oxycontin.
Or you...
And then it will be something that will report to your doctor, your patient has taken too much Oxycontin. So now your doctor will know too as well. That's when you started these things. That's where they ended up. Then you need your medication.
Yes.
Right?
Or because that's, guys, I'm a huge fan of apocalyptic literature, post-apocalyptic literature. Brave New World. Everybody had to take Soma. You had to take your Soma. If you didn't take Soma, you started feeling too much and behaving out of character, which means you started having a fucking mind of your own. And if you didn't take so, you can't have that. So now you have to comply. This is like, we're not making this up here. We're not trying to fearmonger. This is what's happening. Do you have anything else you want to read from there?
It's because it's
yeah.
I'm just reading their whole proposition for this pilot program, right? So
it's scary.
They're gonna want the fact that there should not be any pilot program.
No.
To determine whether or not they should have a mile per whatever vehicle mile per fee. Fucking shit. I'm just lost right now. Like there's loss of words that this is even happening. This is literally in the bill.
Yeah. You can get
why
to the
isn't any of the
part
progressives fighting for this?
Because the progressives don't care. They think that they are
fighting against it.
Yeah,
they
but
didn't read it. They didn't know about
a lot.
This
don't
either.
read it,
the
and when they
libertarians
do,
are the ones that read it.
But you know how they are. They're so virtuous. Oh, we need to put these implications in there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's going to help cut down on global warming. We can't let everybody just drive all the time where they want to drive.
Right. That's what they're using. Do you see that? So it's you, the pleb, who has to get to work. And a lot of people I know who are working class have to drive an hour or two to get to work.
Yes.
Okay. And they don't have the privilege of living next to where they work because let me put it for example to you guys right now. Example. Though in a lot of workplaces are in the west side of LA. Santa Monica, let's say you're a server. You make the most money on the west side oftentimes. Let's say you work in Venice, right? Let's say you live in like east of Pasadena, which is cheaper to live there because it's further away from the ocean. Oh, you have to drive an hour and change to get to work. People are that desperate. They're doing that. In Florida too. People that work in Disney, they live farther away. It's the same thing. And so they can't afford to live closer. So now you're going to penalize these people that can't afford to live closer who need to drive more. So the poor always end up having to pay more. Whereas a rich person's like, oh, I can just get an apartment and not pay anything. Do you see? They're criminalizing poverty from the city council level here with the ordinance all the way to the federal and national level. They're criminalizing poverty. The poor are criminals now. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Fam, we need a two-tier society. It must be done. We have global warming issues. We have overpopulation issues.
It's not like the people that have all these electronic appliances and all these fancy cars and literally their private fucking jets are not the problem. It's the fucking plebs that are the problem.
Because
that
there
drive
are
a mile
so many
over,
more plebs than there are of us.
Which is why we
the
should
elites.
eat the rich.
Yes. Talking about that French Revolution, and here's the thing where I just want to finish up on this topic right now before we get our guest on, is that the infrastructure spending bills have a history of waste and embarrassment. And this is from the Americans for Prosperity. It is a libertarian sort of mindset, but this is where, when I've always paid attention to libertarians, it was areas like this, like, look at the money we're wasting. Look at the money we're wasting. And a lot of progressives would always try to kind of twist that narrative and saying, oh, you don't want to have programs for poor people and stuff. Like, that's bullshit. I do want programs for poor people, but we don't want pork that's just going to go to a bunch of contractors and never end up on our streets. Our streets are terrible, like we talked about, and when China, you look at it, it's like a futuristic town.
Stop
it's
being so anti-China, Paso.
Because it's ridiculous, because we heard something, and I don't know, I can't confirm this, but we were listening to somebody the other day. He goes, it's just a different kind of society. Their actual money and spending goes to projects in the streets. Look at the country. Look how it's progressed. And they even talked, like I said, Azerbaijan. I want to see if Azerbaijan has a high-speed railway. We have no high-speed railway anywhere in this country.
We're
using the same fucking thing.
You go to Europe, you can go to any place in Europe and literally use a train to get around. In fact, you can go from the United Kingdom, which there's islands, and use the channel from Paris to France to get around through the ocean. The channel, like it's an underwater fucking train. Like, I mean, you can navigate places in the poorest parts of Europe, right? They have that. In freaking Latin America, they have trains.
Yeah.
Like better trains than we do. Literally in the global south.
Yeah.
Argentina, like they are you fucking kidding me? We can't get anything. And in Florida, what do? They put the Sunrail, which it's like just so useless. It barely gets you anywhere.
And where's all this money going to end up? It's going to end up in Wall Street. Wall Street's going to get their hands of it, grab hold of it. All these big contracts. It's going to go to individuals rather than the people, and that's what's going to happen. So I'm just going to read these bullet points really quick of this one part of the article in the very beginning. It says this isn't the first time in recent history spending bills disguised as infrastructure bills have been criticized in this way. In 1998, President Clinton and Congress worked together on a $217 billion transportation bill. Now that's 23 years ago. So 217 billion, not no chopped liver for 23 years ago. 1998.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who could forget that George W. Bush 2005 bill included funding for an infamous bridge to nowhere? And I'll never forget this. And I started to understand. Remember this shit? It was like we were in Congress and they're arguing, and one senator in freaking Alaska wanted to build this bridge to nowhere, and they actually put the money towards it. A bridge that went nowhere.
We live in a fucking cartoon.
President Obama's 2090 American Recovery and Reinvestment Act had an $831 billion price tag, fam. You think just a short time ago when Obama had all this money out there, all right, for his transportation bill and everything else, and his Reinvestment Act, that we'd have better fucking roads. Maybe one high-speed railway somewhere around the country. No. The Trump administration proposed and endorsed several costly infrastructure plans between 2015 and 2020. They wouldn't let that schmuck fucking pass it. But yet he was trying to put it out there. And here we go. President Biden's recent proposal gives you deja vu. You're not alone. His promises sound familiar to us. Fam, we're going to reimagine the whole way we look at transportation around this country. We're going to build back better. It's disgusting. It's ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we have one problem that we need to take care of before we take care of anything else. It's corruption at the top. It needs to be removed. Because they might promise you all these things in these bills, but they've been promising it for years. And look at our infrastructure. And I don't understand how Bernie can't call this out. Remember him in 2016? I don't even go over a bridge anymore. Larry David did it. I go on the water and I cross it that way because I'm so afraid the bridge is going to crumble. I mean, our infrastructure is awful across the board. It's like technology hasn't even hit us unless it's for our
We're
phone
a fourth world
personal
country,
things.
right? We're not a first world country. We're
disgusting.
a fourth world country because we have crumbling infrastructure. Bernie used to say it all the time. Oh, crumbling infrastructure. He would talk about it all the fucking time. How dare he let this go as if it's a celebratory win. He would constantly say that. I remember all the time. I was like, he's addressing our crumbling infrastructure. Thank you. No, he's literally gone back on everything he said. This isn't a desire to hate on Bernie. Anybody who knows me knows I was a huge Bernie supporter. This is like a slap on the face and another slap and then a stab in the back. I mean, this is gross. Not just Medicare for all, but it's infrastructure, minimum wage, all of this shit that he talked about. Housing as a human right. All these things are out the window. They're not even talking about it anymore. They're talking about incremental policies. How are you going to vote your way out of what we just saw in that bill, out of what Jonny pointed out? How are you going to vote your way out of them criminalizing poverty at every fucking level? And how are you going to vote your way out of this, out of them pretending everything's fine? Everything's good. Take the wins where you can get them, progressives. Here are the scraps. You're lucky you got that. That's what they're doing.
Yep. Wow. I mean, there's nothing much more to say, fam, because it's, Blackstone is going around and buying everything up.
Dude.
We're going to have no generational wealth for us. Even the fucking Generation X's like me, the old geezers like me, are not going to own property and be able to sell it off and die comfortably. You know what I'm saying? You guys are going to have to take care of me now, fam, because the government's not, they're restricting me from having any type of wealth. So you guys are going to have to take care of me when I'm in the old nursing home. Will you come visit me? Because I'm going to have no love out there.
You're so rude,
Please.
Jonny.
Help me out. Guys,
well,
Jonny.
this is what Max Kaiser was talking about what we saw yesterday, Pasta, about how, China's booming.
Yeah.
And becoming the next superpower.
Yeah.
And they took a hold of the fucking. It looks like Iran signed that deal with China.
Yes, they did.
Or they're about to.
No, they signed. So.
Jonny, can you send that to Sabby? She's actually running a little bit late. So if you wanted to go over anything else in that bill, that would be great.
Yeah, I can take a look. But what I was talking about is that So Iran signed a deal with China
Yep.
to help build their infrastructure, to
Yep.
help build them back actually better, right?
Uh-huh.
So one of the things that he was saying is that geopolitical wise, the old saying was look to the west, and then now it's like look to the east, young man, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying
Yep.
now. So I don't know. And then the fall of the Roman Empire, what happened at the fall? They turned on their own citizens.
Yep.
Yep.
That's what happened.
And we're talking now this is about the Belt Initiative, or the Belt and Road Initiative, what China's trying to do, and it's gonna take billions of people to take them out of poverty and stuff. But now it's one island they got, right, Johnny? Now with Iran, they got water rights, whatnot. Afghanistan's getting under control. Afghanistan, the Taliban leadership has already gone to Moscow, already gone to Shanghai. They've already been talking to get everything in place. So now it's in a situation where China, right, is going to be the major superpower. But one of the things that Mr. Collins talked about when we saw on the show yesterday is the fact is that they don't have a system that we have over here. In other words, they pulled a lot of people out of poverty. A lot of the money that they have goes to the infrastructure and the actual people there and stuff, which would probably deter them from overthrowing that government that they have. And he also talked about it's the way the people pulled China out of all their issues, whatnot and stuff, right? So with that being said, what do we have over here? We have an infrastructure bill that's going to be taken away by a bunch of fugazi contractors, Wall Street, where the Bank of China, the CEO makes around $200,000 a year, but JP Morgan Chase, you got Jamie Dimon making billions every year, just taking all this money. This inequality comes from somewhere. It comes from theft. Right? And that's the problem we have. So anytime they throw any of these bills at you, you got to know it's full of shit because it's never going to hit its target. Because the corruption within our government is the main problem. We have to remove the corruption first so that if we did have an actual solid bill, fam, to rebuild this country, it would get done. And it hasn't been getting done for 30 years. Like I said, we have no high-speed rail.
There's no way that you're going to tell me that the squad and the 100 progressives of the Progressive Caucus can't make a move here and say, you know what? They're making a move for a reconciliation bill that literally does nothing. Like, so that's where they're look, this is what we're holding out for, which is nothing. And so they're doing that to kind of symbolically say, oh, look, see, we're doing something. But they're not, because that doesn't do anything for you and I. It's not any tangible gains that we're getting. And you can talk about China all you want. You can call it authoritarian. It is a superpower. China is a superpower. And they're not perfect. No country is. But at the same time, the one thing that is real is that China has people that have the middle class of China, in capitalist terms, or the working class of China in more communist terms has acquired wealth. Why? How do I know this? Because a lot of Chinese investors are coming here and buying up a lot of businesses, a lot of property. The kids who are coming from China are coming here and getting educated in America, and they have a lot of money. My friend is a teacher. She teaches English as a second language. All of her students are from China. They all have some sort of wealth acquired. This is like nothing like this. That's their population. Like, it's not like it's rare. It's like the vast majority of these people are coming here and spending money. When's the last time Americans went anywhere and weren't losing? If you go to Europe, like the pound and the euro are worth significantly more than the dollar. The only place where we can go is the global south and actually have more money. But that's all changing because America is Rome before its collapse. And we've always been compared to Rome. And I think it's more and more poignant as to how accurate that is, especially with the corrupt government, because that's how empires fall. When you don't take care of the people, then shit starts to hit the fan.
Yeah.